Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Diana, and together with Raul and Alejandro, we are here to welcome you to our crowdcast this evening on the theme of gamification in scouting. Gamification, just as a short introduction, gamification is one of the topics that we're looking at regional level. Myself, I'm a regional volunteer in the Skills for Life group. And gamification is part of the regional scout plan. And this is because it's a very important topic to all of us working in education and scouting, because it helps us build better online tools. And we have been dealing with this topic and trying to help you build new skills for the past 2.5 years. And we have received a lot of questions on the topic of the concept of gamification, which is why we have a special guest here today with us, Alejandro, which is an expert in this field. And he will be explaining more about gamification and how we can use this concept in scouting and in education in general, and apply it in everything that we do. Alejandro is the CEO of Wet Edu Games, and he is an expert in creating games and online tools, and he will be here with us for the next hour. For the ones that are here for the first time as participants in a crowdcast, you can ask questions or just say hello to the other people in the bottom of the screen, the bottom right of the screen. You have a space to write all of your questions, and we will be answering them at the end of our talk. And also there are 2 polls available for you. The first one is just to see a bit which regions we have present, and we invite you to vote in this poll now or during the crowdcast. And the second one, we will ask you to hold your horses and not vote yet, because we will let you in when the time is right, what you need to vote on. So this being said, I pass this on to Alejandro to going.
So thank you very much for the introduction. As you said, not really an expert as such, but due to different facts, I have become aware of how new technology, how storytelling and gamification can foster the learning process and enhance the possibilities students have in order to achieve different goals or educational goals that we intend to. So first, I don't think I'm really an expert in gamification as such, but I have come across it the last 3 or 4 years. I have been working in different projects where gamification has been a really important topic and concept in the projects we develop. So I hope that with the talk of today, you can take some tips and tools in order to use them in your own projects, whether it's in the Scouts or any other environment. So although the title is Gamification in Scouting, I have to say that we will see not only gamification, it's just one of the parts I'm interested in transmitting to you. So first of all, to the people that might not know me, or just a little quick introduction. So my name is Alejandro Wolby, and I'm the CEO of Wet Edu Games. I am based in southern Spain, and I'm currently working with Wet Edu Games, creating, as you said, as Diana said, different immersive experiences related with education. We started with English as a second language, but now we're creating entrepreneurship programs, Spanish as a language, as a main language, and also like for teamwork in companies, environment of companies and stuff. No, but I have to go back quite some time, because all of this started when I was a scout. I started when I was 8 years old and became a scout chief leader I think I was 17, 18, 19 until 25. So I had to leave and start my own life, really working, well, family and stuff. No, but I honestly believe that being a scout was the key concept of me here today in Web to the Games creative immersive experiences, and I hope to show that during the talk. I've also been a filmmaker. Well, I am a filmmaker and a cross-media creator, and now I'm in the entrepreneur. Well, you know, now it's a trend, I think, but yeah, starting my own business and all related with immersion, learning, and so on. So let's see a little bit what the talk is going to be about. So we're going to talk about 3 basic concepts: technology, well, yes, a little bit of technology, storytelling, and gamification. We're going to see what are they and some key aspects. Then we're going to see what are the benefits in education of using technology, storytelling, and gamification. Probably some of you already know concepts like flow, the magic circle, or have come across Edgar Dale's cone, the way we remember certain things. And then here, although it's ARGs, escape rooms, and more, I haven't had time to go deeper in escape rooms and other concepts, and I've preferred to draw your attention in ARGs, and we will go in deeper ARGs because I believe it's a really cool way to foster the learning process and get students engaged and motivated. So escape rooms and more, maybe we have time later, not sure, but mainly ARGs. And see some examples and tools you can take home and use, okay? So, let's see what's the first thing we're going to talk about. Let me see if the PowerPoint is working properly. They will. So, yes, I wanted to go in 4 aspects of the 21st century. I believe it seems, and the evidence is clear, that we are living in a digital revolution. Technology is everywhere nowadays. And this is changing the way we understand reality. Another aspect of the 21st century is the appearance of digital natives, new, let's say, kind of society that understand reality through technology. And there are a lot of talks about this, if really they are digital natives or not. But if I'm honest, I have to say that during my experience as a teacher, as an English teacher, many years here in southern Spain, and now with Web to the Games, students not so young, we can say 18, maybe 18, 20-year-olds also, understand, I believe, reality in a different way, and we can call them digital natives. Another aspect I would like to start this talk with is the way we communicate and how social media and the way we communicate and communication has changed our lives. And we are always connected to everyone, but at the same time, there's another question we should answer is, are we really more connected to people, or are we a bit more lonely? So this is a big debate to talk about, but it's a reality, and the way we interact with people, of course, has changed the last 10 years. And the last one, but not least, is the appearance of a new language. Okay, I will go a bit deeper into this in a second, but the way we communicate, not just talking the channel, but also the language in itself has changed, and how 21st century has brought a key concept, I believe, is the core of technology we should be looking at. So what I wanted to see about technology is one main concept. Okay, I'm not going to go into different devices, different things we can use, because what we do in our projects at Web to the Games is the concept called "Bring Your Own Device." I don't know if you have come across with this concept. I think I can write in the chat. I will, if anybody's interested. It stands for BYOW, Bring Your Own Device. Oh no, sorry, I wrote it wrong. Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, and that is using the devices we have, or the people we are teaching, students, or I don't know what kind of education we're talking here, but the students can bring to the lesson, not creating, in my opinion, complex virtual reality where we need special devices that is really cool and immersive, but we need to invest a lot on that technology. And I think it's still a big leap until we see that really as a useful tool in learning. Well, let's carry on, and I'm going to talk about what I think is the main concept of technology we should be focusing on. But before we carry on, I have a little video.
Hey, where did you find this?
The boxes in my sink.
Are they heavy?
Yeah.
And they're expensive. Put them back.
Okay, so as you see, it's Jurassic Park, the first episode. And the other day I was watching the film, and this stuck with me. This scene where he says, "Is it heavy? Well, then it's expensive." And I was thinking, oh, I have the talk about technology, gamification, storytelling with the Scout movement, and the question would be, nowadays, how much does technology, or how much does a device weigh? And of course, we have different devices. It's a mobile phone, but they're very light, of course. Laptops, tablets, and stuff. But the main concept of technology, in real fact, doesn't weigh anything, and it's the way the language we use in this technology called hypermedia. Okay, it's a concept that has been studied many years ago, at least 30 years, by Vannevar Bush, who was the first person that came up with the concept. And in real honesty, is for me the thing I always have clear when creating a project, and is a system allowing extensive, as you can see in the image, a system allowing extensive cross-referencing between rated sections, text, multimedia facilities, and associated graphic material. So it's the language we use in the 21st century revolution. Is how different elements, nothing to do with each other, are connected by by the hyper that is above or beyond, no? Hypertext. Started with hypertext, and now we are in hypermedia. So how does this hypermedia change our society? Well, I have a little video I want to introduce you to Abe, or Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I love libraries and books and story time, but I'm a digital native. So I'm an online library that learns that I like, that has lots of multimedia. I want everything to be quick and easy. I want to be able to add my own stuff and see other people's stuff. I want to be able to do it all from my iPad or my ebook reader. I all messed up content. Semantic tagging, real-time information, augmented reality, there's spatial tagging. I even love interactive touch screens. And now you're all busy working on this. But I'm a digital native and I want it now. Hurry up and get cracking. Okay, bye for now.
So that's funny, Abe, true digital native. And well, yeah, we have to bear this in mind when creating projects, especially, well, whether they are as young as Abe or adults, of course. But there's this chaos in concepts, things, devices, projects, VR, AR, augmented reality, tagging, devices. But if we think about it, they are all connected by hypermedia. So that was the concept I think we have to bear in mind, the way the different devices are connected. Now, real fact, I don't want to go much deeper into technology, and I wanted to go now into storytelling and how storytelling has been the main way human beings have transmitted information through decades or centuries, or mainly all our lives since we were the evolution. Of course, stories, how a key concept, something human being has learned, how has it arrived until the day we are living now? Well, through storytelling. If you think about it, the main memories we have probably it's something related with a story, or we remember them through a story. So it's a key feature, I believe, in humans, and how it's a core element we should be implementing in our projects or in the courses or learning experiences we create. I wanted to go into 3 different structures. The most common one is the Threeact structure. It's repeated in all or the majority of things we watch, listen, or read. And this, I believe, it's since Aristotle who started with this concept of the Threeact structure. And in real honesty, it's a first act where we start the story. Elements are put in place. We present the main character, the scenery, and then something happens, inciting incident, okay? The story, the plot starts, and it starts running. And then we arrive to a plot point. This means the main character, has a desire to achieve a goal and is aware about it, is aware of it. Then we enter the second act. As you see, the second act is longer because the duration of the second act should be as long as the first and the third act together. And this, as Aristotle says, is full of bits. There are little, smaller elements that push the action, smaller actions that push the plot forward. Then there's a middle point just to relax a little bit the story, and we arrive to the second plot. Okay, the plot point number 2, in which the character needs that goal, needs to achieve the main task he has right now. Okay, so you will probably come across some kind of act in where he needs to achieve that climax. So the act third carries on increasing until we get the climax, that is the resolution of the plot, and then decrease, goes down, and we are relaxed, and the story relaxes itself, blah, 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 and then we go. And this kind of structure is really common and is really useful to use in projects, because it's very, it's something people are used to, okay? But then maybe some of you have heard about the hero's journey. And that was the next part I wanted to talk about. There was, I think it was a writer in Russia called Vladimir Prop, who studied all the fairy tale stories and found common structures that could be put in place in these fairy tales, okay? Now, in this case, Joseph Campbell got the concept and studied stories, studied also religions, and studied also human, the human story in itself, and found key elements and wrote a book called The Hero's Journey. I'm going to show you a little video because I think it's the best way to understand how it works, and then we go deeper into it.
This is the Hollywood Guidebook for Heroes. You will learn the secret truth behind most blockbuster movies. They basically all follow the same 12 steps, also known as the hero's journey. Every hero's story starts off with some sort of nobody living in an ordinary world. But by following the white rabbit, he will get the call to adventure. At first, he can't be too eager. He must refuse the call. Running away from his destiny, he will stumble upon a mysterious old guy who will turn out to be his mentor. Now he's ready to cross the threshold. Where he's going, he doesn't need roads. Of course, he will be tested, and he might need to win the game to gain new allies and enemies. He must overcome his fear by entering the inmost cave. Here, he will face his supreme ordeal, which will change his life forever. After defeating some bad guy, he'll receive his well-deserved reward, And because he can, he will be flying the road back. But before realizing there's no place like home, our apprentice must resurrect as a new person. Eventually, our hero will return to where he started, but things will never be the same again. This is what we call the hero's journey.
So, let's see. So the idea of the hero's journey in real fact is that there's a normal person living in a normal life, and then suddenly something happens and becomes aware of a new reality or another dimension. He refuses, of course, to enter it until comes across the mentor, who invites him to go with his destiny. And then there are lots of elements like allies. Has to defeat different enemies, gets rewards and stuff until he confronts the main baddie, we can say like that, and then has a learning during that trip, and then comes back, sometimes dies and rebirths during this process, and then goes back to the main life with this learning and making the reality much better. In this case, it's a common thing for all human beings. So we have to try, or we should intend to make our students or people we're trying to teach something become heroes of their own learning process. Okay. Here you have a little diagram with the different structures we were talking about. Okay. You can see it rises all the action between the first, the second, even more, and then it falls. Okay. And here you have the different elements. You can have a look at the hero's journey. And it's common in the majority of stories, okay? And the last one, but not least, is a concept by Diane. What was the name? My mind went out. It's Resonate, probably later comes up. Resonate, the secret structure of great talkers, okay? And Nancy Duarte, I think it's the name of the person that came across with this structure. And she found a key structure of talks from Martin Luther King up to Steve Jobs presenting a device, okay? And how this is very, very interesting. If you do presentations or you do talks, they can be implemented in starting with what is the reality like, and then showing what the future will be like. Then going back to reality, and then going back again to what the future will be like. And this is a kind of way to motivate the listeners and make them become part of something bigger, okay? I have left a link when you receive the PDF or the slides. You can go deeper. She has a TED Talk, really, really interesting TED Talk. I recommend having a look, okay? And then third, but not least, gamification, okay? So then, gamification. What is gamification? Well, gamification is the use of game elements and game design elements in non-game environments or other science. Okay, it's become very popular lately, and the main areas where they implementing gamification is in marketing and also human resources in companies. Okay, slowly, but maybe third, fourth. I believe education and training is another key area where gamification is coming into. There are many, we can say people that have written books and have different concepts of gamification. But if we keep it simple, it's just game elements in other areas that usually are not playful. Okay, and some elements that I would like to go across are the following ones. Okay, usually when we gamify something, we try to, or the intention is to create avatars. Let people become someone else, whether it is with a username, whether it is an image, but they have to become part of a bigger thing, of a group. Okay, then levels. If we apply this to education, we can have different parts. Imagine a course. So each part would be a level. Students would have to go up every level with different tasks and stuff, so they can see the different part where they are at the process, okay? But they need to be clear, okay? The different levels. We start with something very, very simple, and in order to engage more with the students, and then increasing the task, okay? Feedback is also very important. They need to have a way to know if they're doing okay or not, and also in order to receive information if they get stuck, okay? I honestly believe that sometimes when we are defeated or when something doesn't come out okay, it's also a learning process there. But there should be ways to know how to carry on in the gamified element through feedback, okay? Then also a very common one are rewards, where they have to receive some kind of, well, element in compensation of their task or the work they have put into, whether it is they're presenting a document, or they have done some homework, or they have accomplished a task, a really difficult task, then rewards, okay? Another one, it's a bit different, badges. Badges are a way to distinguish which level each player is in, okay? So players will be rewarded with badges in order to identify the different levels they are in, okay? And last but not least, leaderboards. This creates a kind of, well, competition between the different players. Now, if I'm honest, these are like key aspects, very common in gamification, in gamifying elements, but there don't need to be, there's not necessarily a leaderboard in the majority of games we create because we promote collaboration, for example. Or sometimes feedback is not necessary in certain points, okay? So there are elements we should start to introduce in our gamified experiences, but don't be a hassle because you need to put all of them into place and stuff. No, it's just different elements we should implement in order to gamify our experience, okay? And why? Oh, I'm going to go backwards. Okay, how does technology or, well, yes, digital technology, how is storytelling and how is gamification fostering the learning process? Well, as you have seen before, well, there's a concept called flow, okay? By Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. The surname is quite difficult, but there's a theory of the way we can engage. So through gamification, storytelling, and technology, we can engage our listeners, our students, and that is called flow. Well, flow it's a very simple concept, is matching the challenge with the skills they have in order to not make it an anxiety experience or that they are bored, okay? It's the right channel in order to have them motivated, having challenges that are equal to their skills, because if we put higher challenges, they probably will go anxious, okay? And if the challenge is quite low and they have quite good skills, then they will become bored or relaxed, and that is nothing we want to, because flow allows us to maintain the spotlight attention. It's a way we can get our students or our listeners concentrated in what we're trying to transmit. And well, here you have a little chart flow. As you see, it's a channel from lower challenges and skills into a higher one. Of course, it's not a fluid chart. Probably there will be moments where they become anxious. When we create elements, educational immersive experiences, sometimes students become a bit anxiety, and they have a bit of anxiety in certain points because they need to find certain things. And what is the problem? They are used to being fed with the things, yeah? So being a bigger challenge, sometimes they need to learn that first, that it's a bigger challenge and they need time. This is something 21st century seems to be leaving behind, but letting time to accomplish a task or make the learning process really really fulfilling. Okay, fulfilling. Well, there's another one. How can we get flow? Well, through game. Okay, game is a cool and a really good way to get flow into action. Another thing is the magic circle by John Huizinga. So John Huizinga wrote a book called Homo Ludens, and he tried to see what were the human core concepts in games. And he came up with this concept I always have really present in the project we created at Weta Games. And what is the magic circle? Well, we have a player, in this case, games. It can be a student, it can be a person listening to a talk, okay? And in a real world, with the laws, the rules, and things that are as they are, okay? Then they enter through the game in a magic world where they become through avatars, as we were talking before, and different rules, different rules, yes, and different laws. They can become someone different, and they have a different experience. The longer the longer they maintain themselves in the magic circle, the better. As little kids are always, well, not always, but they have really easy to enter the magic circle, even with nothing. As we get older, this disappears, and games is a good way of bringing back those elements, okay, when we were kids, when we were childs, okay? Well, so the player enters the magic world through a game and has his own identity, certain rules, and when the game finishes, they come out the same, but with something learned. They are someone different. It's related, as you can imagine, with the hero's journey. Well, and Dale's learning cone. This is how can humans remember things better? And there was a cone with certain percentages of, you can remember 20%, or you can remember 70% if you do certain things, or do another thing, or do this, or do that. But that was a marketing strategy from a car company. Edgar Dale created a cone that demonstrated how, after a 2-week period, people retained certain things depending on how they approached them. For example, if we get something you read in the learning process, for example, emails or documents, are remembered, but not as much as something we listen. We can use podcasts in this case, or recorded audios of a talk. But in this case, when we see something like a PowerPoint presentation or infographics, it's we remember it better. We remember it better. So, and well, hear and see even more. For example, an e-course, recorded talk, recorded e-learning session. But as you can see, all of them are passive. Okay, the person that is at the other side doesn't have an interaction with the elements, and this is the most interesting part. I believe we can get the learning process to retain in our students. And that is, if they say the learning process or the thing we are learning, maybe by teaching, they become the teachers or the talkers. For example, an interactive live seminar where you can, someone can interact and participate. E-mentoring, we call coaching, where they can exchange different kind of documents, emails, communication through WhatsApp and stuff, or forums. This is much more active, and we retain that concept longer, okay, or better, not longer, better. But the most educators came across with that when we say and do and experience something, we retain it more and better. For example, in this case, we have games, simulations, or ARGs. And this is where I wanted to go into ARGs. I don't know if anybody has, but probably some of you have come across with what are ARGs. But let's try to keep it simple with some examples in order to make this talk interesting, and you can take some concepts home. Okay, so what are ARGs? I want to show you a little video. Okay.
I need your help.
Me?
You don't have to.
Okay, so in this case, they call it an augmented reality experience. But this I came across this video some time ago, a couple of years ago, and of course, when we see this kind of elements, we think, "Whoa, this is a huge production. They have got a lot of in finance to a lot of money to finance this kind of projects, and you need a big team and stuff." Well, if I'm honest, not really, not really. I believe, and that's what we're trying with it, with Tedu Games, is to create these kind of experiences that foster the learning process, as I was saying at the beginning. And in real fact, this project does not even exist. It's a trailer or a teaser of a company that is showing what they're able to do. But with simple tools and having things clear, I believe anybody can create an immersive experience. So I've seen a question before, what are ARGs? Well, it's time to reveal what are ARGs, if the presentation works, of course. Let's see. So ARGs are alternate reality games, okay? I'm not sure if you have come across with this kind of projects. Probably you have, although you didn't know, because this is one of the main concepts of an ARG. We will see later. And so ARGs stand for alternate reality games. And what is an alternate reality game? Well, an alternate reality game, as Jane McGonigal explains, she's one of the gurus, let's say, so of this kind of experiences, ARGs. She has got a couple of books that are really, really interesting to read. One is called Superverter, and how gamification and ARGs can help people recover from an illness or a period of a bad period, maybe anxiety or stress. And another one related with gamification. So I recommend checking out Jane McGonigal in this case. And so she describes ARG as an interactive drama played out online and in the real world. Okay, so this is really important. An ARG must be or must have online elements and the real world as a platform. Okay, then taking place over several weeks. So we have a period. It's not just one day thing. It's during some time. So people that participate can discover, can take part in it. And in this case, she says that in which dozens, hundreds, or thousands of players come together online. Well, different projects have demonstrated that it's not necessary to have dozens of players. If we think of it in our lessons, in our classroom, or in our talks, or when we are trying to, well, whether it's in the scouts or whether it's when we're giving some formation or training, to any scout ship, probably the group are limited, 20 maximum, not quite sure, but well, it also works, okay? Not necessarily hundreds, but the Oh, now I think now it's, you can see, I think it was stopped. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me put again the slide. I'm not sure where okay, so more or less, it freezed. I'm sorry about that. The internet connection sometimes, I'm not sure if it's raining or something, but here in southern Spain, but hundreds of people. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. So ARGs, as Jane McGonigal describes them. I'm sorry about that. Well, an interactive drama that plays online and in the real world that takes place during some period of time where we have dozens, hundreds of thousands of people. And in real honesty, you don't need to have a huge group because we can apply these ARGs in smaller groups, such as a talk we are giving or a training course with different scout chiefs we are doing or we have planned, or even in the own scouts movement. Okay, maybe groups are formed with 50, 20, or 100. I don't know, scouts, but there's no need to have a large amount of players, okay? But it's important, the group. Why? Because through their interaction, they can solve a mystery or problem that couldn't do it on their own, okay? So, and I was talking before it's freezed also, that this concept is really important in the learning process because we foster the teamwork. There's now a lot of tendency calling project-based learning and stuff where the team needs to help each other in order to achieve different challenges. So this is a core aspect we need to promote, okay? Having a group that works together. So let's see. Elements that go into an ARG. Well, multi-platform content, online and offline, real world, whether it is a PDF, a website, an email, a video, an audio. So they are all different. There are a lot of different elements. They are related, or they are kind of transmedia project, transmedia storytelling. This maybe can be talked in another moment, but ARGs are kind of transmedia. Transmedia projects are a story told in different platforms, okay? But you need to know or consume all the different elements in order to understand the main story. And in this case, storytelling also comes into place with ARGs. We need a story, okay? So we can engage students, and also with the magic circle of John Wisinga, they become somebody bigger with the group in order to achieve bigger tasks and can achieve bigger things, okay? And last but not least, of course, gamification, where students or anybody that's in our learning process will be rewarded, will know the level they are in. Also, they will have an avatar. Well, an avatar can be a name, it can be an image, or it can be just taking part in a group, okay? This is why gamification is also important in ARGs. Features of an ARG. Well, the puppet master, okay? It's a really important thing that there is somebody or a group of people in charge of creating and making sure the ARG works, okay? They create all the experience, where it's going to be told, which platforms, which is storytelling, and what game structure or game elements are we going to implement. But they must be behind the curtain, okay? As Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. There must be a curtain, a fictional curtain, of course, or a digital one, where people that participate, the gamers or the players or the people that participate in ARGs never come across the puppet master, okay? It's very important to have this division and never interacting with the puppet master. I have seen a couple of ARGs where there's a kind of parallel platform where some of the most experienced players interact with the puppet master, but I think this aspect must be kept apart, okay? And another important thing, like Alice in Wonderland, are rabbit holes. These are gaps in which the players or the people that we are trying to teach something or get something across them, these are gaps where they will come in or interact with it. So it could be a call to action, it can be a website, it can be an email, it can be a phone call, it can be some event happening in where we are, a special day where we have all the scout chiefs or our scout group involved. So then that something happens, and that is a rabbit hole, okay? There are several rabbit holes because the idea is to allow people to enter on the way of the storytelling, okay? So not just one rabbit hole where everybody will come into. No, different kind of rabbit hole, because not everybody enjoys maybe reading a document or has a Twitter account. So the idea would be put different rabbit holes in different platforms so people can enter, okay? And last but not least, and one of the most important is, well, I don't know how to say this in English, but either in Spanish, Threeact or Threeact. Well, the main concept is that this is not a game. Players or students or people that are participating in an ARG must really believe, must believe it's real, okay? Not a game. So this, with the projects we have created, it's a crucial element. They must believe it's real, okay? Well, here comes the poll. So I wanted to show some examples, and as we don't have a lot of time, I don't want to put a lot of them. I want you to choose between one of the two. So you have to go to poll and then vote for the video you would like to see, the example you would like to see. The first one is called I Love Bees by 42 Entertainment. I'm not going to give any clues or anything. And the other one is Why So Serious? This is related with Batman, okay? Well, I give you a little tip. The first one, if I'm not wrong, is related with the video game Halo of Microsoft video game Halo. And the second one related with Batman, okay? So I give you a couple of seconds so everybody that is still watching the talk can vote, okay? Would you like to see example A or example B? Let's see. Looks like 2 people have voted for A and 6 for B. Let's wait a little bit more, a little longer. Oh, B is winning. Oh, let's see. Oh, 80%. Woo. 9? Oh, I shouldn't have said anything about Batman, really. Should have kept it secret, but well. Any more wanted to vote quickly? So not make it longer. Oh, 3A, 10B. Okay, we're going to give 10 seconds, okay? We're going to give 10. Quickly vote if you want. 9. Oh, somebody changed. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and close. Okay. So if you want to vote, you can still vote, no problem. You will have the presentation, you can watch the other example. But in this case, the winning one is Why So Serious ARG. Okay, so as you have voted, we're going to put example B. Let's see. B, Why So Serious? Oh, sorry. Let's see. I'm just going to put a little bit of it, okay? So, because it's a bit long.
Why so serious?
This is a really cool
In the
ARG.
months leading up to the release of The Dark Knight, an alternate reality game attracted more than 10 million unique players to real-time Gotham City, a city where the Joker left his mark on posters and bills and started building an army of henchmen all over the world. At Comic-Con, players gathered to take their first orders from the Joker. Working with players online, they scavenged for clues and found a big one typed out in the sky.
Saw a bunch of kids writing a phone number. So we dialed that phone number and it was this little message.
If you want to be part of my crew, you're going to need to prove you're up to the challenge.
Players hit the streets dressed as their leader, and Gotham City began to spill out into the real world, building excitement and anticipation for The Dark Knight. Their efforts put together yet another piece of the puzzle. A request to hit local landmarks in full Joker makeup. From London to the Middle East, to Pennsylvania, to India, a worldwide community formed, a chosen community, and a newspaper led them further into the world. A world where nothing was safe from the Joker.
corrupt cops shamed the city. And where players picked up cakes at bakeries across America with a hidden package inside. A Joker phone to keep in constant contact with the world of Gotham City. A world they could choose to join in any way they wanted. Like a campaign to take back Gotham City.
Hello, I'm Harvey Dent, Assistant District Attorney of Gotham City. I'm calling to ask for your support.
Harvey Dent contacted players by phone and email and asked them to show their support. The response was overwhelming. Pictures streamed in. Dentmobiles brought Harvey Dent's message of change to 33 cities throughout the country. Citizens took to the streets, marched, protested, rallied, screamed, and chanted.
What is hitting somebody with a pillow have to do with Harvey?
Okay, so sorry, I wanted to stop that, but because we don't have much time to watch a video. But in the end, you have the link here. You can watch it. They get all these people to promote, get involved through different media, different platforms, and in the end, there's they reveal that it's the trailer for the new film of Batman. Okay, so how can, if well planned, we can create experiences where we engage with people. Okay, so also again a big, huge production. But let's go a little bit further. As you see, as I told you, this was a marketing strategy, a marketing campaign in order to get people or attract more people to the film. But I wanted to show you this other example called the lockdown. I came across not long ago, okay? I'm going to put the video so you see.
I need your skills on something.
Please don't be afraid. This will get better.
It's encrypted. Break it before it's too late.
Watch the booby traps.
Not sure if it was clear in the video, but this is an app where a bank and a production company created an augmented reality interactive experience where they could train future candidates in order to know if they had the enough skills for banking or finance and stuff. So there was an app where the people that participate could see if they had a puzzle to solve. Oh, puzzles, I didn't talk about puzzles at the beginning, but well, and they have to interact with the elements, so the story goes further in order to solve a certain crisis. We have multi-platform, we have storytelling, and we have gamification. In the training, as before was marketing, this is training, especially for companies. And last but not least, one of the examples we have created with Wet Games called the Group of Experts. That is only a learning experience, okay? Let's see the video, give me a second. Okay, here. This is a small trailer so you can see the story.
The Times has published a report about the
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that again, please?
I'm so balanced.
Make it perfect. Make it perfect.
This is an educational experience called the Group of Experts, an educational ARG, in which students, the first rabbit hole we have was a top secret envelope, okay? So we have a group of students, we're trying to foster the educational, in this case, English as a second language, and they come across this top secret envelope. And when they open it, they discover all the story world, all the storytelling, and all the multi-platform contents. In this case, the British government asks for help. As you see in the trailer, we have different levels, but this one precisely I wanted to go into is to, they have a mission to promote the United Kingdom, to promote gap year among Spaniards, and in order to travel to the British country. So what they find is a video, as you see the pen drive or the CD, in which the MP asks for help and explains a little bit the task with an official letter. And we have a document explaining what is a multi-platform campaign, or how they can promote or give they can advertise these kind of projects through online and social media. And another interesting thing was a card of Marion Vault where they could access an Instagram profile with Creative Commons photos they could use in their campaign. So we are promoting also the use of a proper use of other people's creations. And through a chat, through WhatsApp, they could interact with Marion Vault in order to, if they had any problems or didn't know what to do, they could talk with her and ask her for help. The teacher steps backward and lets the students be in charge of the lesson, okay? So how do we distribute this? When we create an ARG in education, we have to bear in mind the first thing, the learning goals and assessments. In this case, the learning, English learning as a second language was maybe a certain grammar, certain vocabulary, promoting, speaking, reading, listening, and writing at the same time. And at the bottom, we have the storytelling. In this case, the British government asks for help in order to solve different crises. And as you see, in the middle, we have different platforms. This is the user's journey. This is like the hero's journey and so on, is the way the students, the players, or the people that take part in ARGs will interact with the different platforms, okay? In this case, you can see in the center the top secret envelope. They will take them to an official letter. What is a document? What is a advertisement campaign? Marion's Vault card. From there, they can go to the Instagram. They can chat with Marion Vault, write her emails. In the end, go to Twitter. Through her Twitter account, she would retweet different elements they create in order to promote gap years. And you cannot imagine the way that students react, okay? The feedback from the teachers was that the motivation, participation, and engagement was like increased 70%. And the most important fact that 4 skills were taught, used at the same time. So bear in mind that when you use these kind of projects in your own area, there will be a way to engage the people that participate and foster the learning process, okay? Tools, and I think this is the most interesting part. As we don't have much time, you will have all this presentation, okay? When we are talking about multi-platform campaigns, we can create websites, Wix, WordPress. These are free to use. You create an account and they're easy to be created, okay, and easy to be implemented. Even if you use a website that URL that is not a proper one, doesn't matter really, but it's an easy way to get started with ARGs or multi-platform experiences. Then you can create presentations with a kind of, you have the links, okay, on the presentation, Gloster or Prezi. For example, create, if you are not very good at designing with certain softwares, well, they have Kanban and Geniali. You can create interactive posters or banners and stuff, okay? Another kind of multimedia is very important. We believe multimedia is the language we use in our daily routine, and you can create videos or edit them, record them with a camera, with a telephone, and then edit them with the Filmora. It's a software, online software you can edit really easily. Rec is a way to record audios or create a podcast, okay? It's very interesting too. Or PowerTunes to create videos that are animated videos. Then we have chatbots. This is maybe the most complex, but if you spend some time checking certain manuals or videos on YouTube, you can come across with a good way to create chats through Dialogflow. This is, I think it belongs to Google, and it's an easy way to create simple chats where people can interact with a character of our experience, okay? And then how to engage. Now, I recommend to check these two tools in the learning process. Kahoot, probably it's well known, probably you have used it, but it's a way to create quiz and we can interact with the telephone. We get the students, we create a presentation, we put a question and the students have to answer the right question of the 4 possible answers on the telephones. And then they see the chart and who has answered, who hasn't. It's really, really engaging for students. And Quizlet is a platform. They allow you to create flashcards and then people can learn the flashcards and have different tasks, maybe writing, maybe listening them. And they have, at the end, a little activity they have to put into practice what they have learned. Okay, you have the links here. Okay, so don't worry about that. Now, as we don't have much time, I have 2 tools here I am going to show you, but I'm not going to go into them right now. If you have any questions, you can write an email. I will happily answer. And this is a gamification model canvas, okay? In this canvas is a really visual way to gamify an experience. We have the revenues, okay? We can say what are the goals we want to achieve. Who are the players, okay? Also the behaviors we want them to do. No, maybe we want them to go to a certain website. We want them to do a certain activity or whatever. Okay, aesthetics in this case is more the emotional response of the players. Then we have the costs. Okay, maybe this is not interesting. If it's not a large project, it's maybe a little one. Maybe it's 0. Well, that's good. Which platforms, mechanics. Remember also the mechanic is like the way they are going to interact with the gaming. Is the game elements. Okay, if there's a call to action and where it is and what happens if they do certain stuff. Okay, and the components, as we were talking, if you could put leaderboards, if you put badges, rewards, where they get them. Okay. They're cool. They're very well explained online. But if you have any questions, you can send me an email and I will be happy to answer. But I want to go further because I have a last canvas I want to show you. I have a second one called storytelling canvas in which we can put subject, who are we, or what is the story about, what are the goals we want to achieve, who is the audience, and then before the story, what are they like, the listeners or the people that are going to interact with the story. The 3-act structure, you remember from the storytelling, you write what happens at the beginning to put things in situation, what is the plot so that people can have more desire to arrive at the goal, and at the conclusion, how does the story finish? And after, how people come out of that story. So I want to go past these 2 and go into this one, okay? This is one we created in with Wetted Games for immersive experiences. And it's the one I showed you before about the group of experts. I think it's the most interesting for you in this case. At the top, we put our learning goals and assessment. What do we want the students, the people we're trying to teach something or train in a certain area, achieve? What do we want them to achieve after the experience? Whether it is a certain content, a certain grammar, a certain skill, okay? You would put it here, okay? With the Scouts movement, you can put all the ones related with the scouting, of course. And then storytelling. What is the story about? You can write here a little script about what is the story. I recommend like doing columns and dividing them depending on which moment of the interactive or immersive experience we are in. And then platforms. We have 5. You can put more or less. And we recommend to put the title of each platform at the beginning. Okay, for example, number 1, real world. 2, online. 3, videos. 4, audios. 5. Okay, so then you can do the user's journey through different arrows. You write, okay, out in the real world, boom, receive a packet. Okay, a package. Then an arrow to platform 3, a website. They find in the package a QR code. Then they link to a video, number 4. And then you, through arrows, it's very visual to see what is the journey and where they are at every point of the storytelling, okay? So feel free to use it, okay? And last but not least, I think it's the moment to answer questions. I nearly nailed it with the hour, but I have one more thing at the end. But well, how was the video? It interrupted just once, so that wasn't bad. Now let's see with the questions.
Yes. So we have 5 questions. A part of them were partially answered. The first one is, are there any free formats? We already discussed a bit on that. Alejandro, do you want to comment something?
Well, yes, maybe go back to the tools we were talking. Oh, I have to go past. Okay, here you have free tools to use in the creation of multi-platform content, and also engaging, some tools to engage. Very intuitive and very easy to use. But I believe that well, whether it is the gamification model canvas or the storytelling canvas, are also cool tools to use. But this one, in fact, I think it's a a way to planify your immersive experience, your ARG. Remember, you don't need to use a lot of technology. You don't need to use a lot of money. It's just, remember, the BYOD, bring your own device, using the elements we have near us, creating with the tools I told you at the beginning. At the beginning, 3 slides before, creating the content and then distributing it through a timeline. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question properly, but I hope with these tips, tools, and elements, they find it a bit easier.
Yep.
Hope so.
Hope so. The second question would be, is gamification, can any topic or training session be gamified? Is it something that you can do with anything? What's your
well, I believe so. The majority of topics, yes, I believe all training topics can be gamified, really. If you have clear the different components or elements that are into play, and also who are the users or who are the players, and who are the people that are going to be in your talk or in your let's say, well, with the scouts or in Spanish we call it educandos. I'm not sure in English, but I believe the majority, yeah, I haven't come across anything that cannot be gamified, but the problem is everything can be gamified, and that's not cool. It's better to think, how can I make more engaging the learning process, or the acquisition of certain tasks, or certain skills.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. In to be honest,
it also connects to another question, which is, what is the connection of all of this with scouting? Because
yes,
we are often very good at creating games in scouts, but when it comes to integrating technology into scouting, we hit a block.
This is maybe the, and later we'll see what is gamification related with scouting in the next slide I have. But of course, at least when I have been a scout and all my period as a scout, the nature and real world was the most important aspect to be worked on. And in this case, collides a little bit with the digital concept, no, I believe. But if we bear in mind the concept of bring your own device, okay, the scouting, who are the scouts? We are trying to transmit certain knowledge or trying to make them acquire a certain kind of concept or whatever. Well, what technology do they have in their hands? Probably a mobile phone, probably internet, access to internet, or maybe a Wi-Fi connection. They can connect a tablet and stuff. But technology shouldn't be the main element. In real fact, you can gamify things like, what's the name? RPD, or role-played games, or like live games where people dress up and act and stuff. I remember one of these things when I was a scout, and there was no technology, really. So gamification hasn't got anything to do with technology. How can we gamify elements in the scouting movement? Well, whether it is to acquire or make because it's a learning process in the end, since the kids enter the scouting movement until they become adults, it's a huge learning process. Through engagement, they can become more motivated to become to be aware of what the scout movement is trying to do in our society, and maybe through different tasks, promote certain concepts through the society they have near. No, for example, I don't know if we are thinking of, for example, a concept like nature, no? Or what's the word in English? Well, for example, we want to foster, or we want to make our community aware of the pollution, and the Scouts is going to be in charge of this. Okay, but we could create an experience with certain technology or little technology with a storytelling and gamification, gamifying elements, where the society that is surrounding this Scout movement can become part of that, and in the end is achieve the goals the Scouting movement is trying to achieve. Another one would be when doing trainings or courses with Scout chiefs and so on. If we have clear our goals or our assessments or what we're trying to transmit, and we have a cool storytelling where it could be, well, a certain crisis, or we can use a real news we have read and amplify that, and then how they're going to transmit, how they're going to flow or travel through the different media. It would make the people, I believe, what our projects or what we have come across in our projects, much more motivated and willing to evolve and carry on with the learning process. In the end, I believe it's the same. The learning process is both our learning process.
Guadalupe, are you happy with the answer, or?
If there's more precise concept that they want to ask, I will be happy to try to answer. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
It is not very difficult, of course.
Yeah. In a way, we did mix two concepts, that is the gamification that we know it in Scouting, and this perspective on gamification that we bring from online games, technology, and so on. And so the mix is, yeah, exactly. We have gamification all over in Scouting, and how we integrate that and how we use it and mix it with what the filmmaking and game making is bringing to the concept is also an interesting perspective for us as Scouts and educators.
Also, using the language, the society we live in take part in the gamifying or the process or whatever we're talking, and that's I believe why it's also important to implement, but it's not necessary really, but it's a really easy way to engage with people, I believe so. I don't know if you want to go with the next question.
Yes. We had another question. It seems that games, I think it was referring to the alternate reality games, have often something aggressive in its fighting. Are there also attractive games with a very positive approach?
Well, there was, I don't know if it would be a bit frightening also, but there was really one of the first gamifying immersive experiences related to with a world without oil. Okay, so there was a project created where people interact as not savers, but people that were aware of this problem, that it was that in a certain time oil will run out, and then the consequence of it. And then the idea was them to promote the correct use of oil and not abuse of such a bad element for nature. But in this case, although it started maybe with a frightening concept, it wasn't the main core of it. Okay, the world without oil was to be aware of this possible problem that is, well, someday it will run out, and what are the consequences of it, and how will the world be, and what can we do now in our daily routine or small life, no? And that was a really cool way of a positive approach, as the question says. And now that I can think of, well, then also, I don't know, teachers are tending to use these kind of things or elements or projects at schools. So always is has a less aggressive, I believe, so approach to them. But I cannot come up with a project right now. But well, I would be happy to share different projects and discuss this topic, because maybe the problem is human beings are really or connect with like drama, no, and stuff, and things we need to solve soon, and maybe it's true. There's a common thing in immersive experiences. I don't believe so. But it looks like it's true that many of them have this in common.
If I remember, one of the author that you mentioned also has a book where there are loads of examples. It's called Reality is Broken.
Reality is Broken. Yeah, that's right.
And a really good book with loads of examples of alternate reality games.
And she has a book called, as I told you at the beginning, Better. I said at the beginning, what was the name? Better something. She has a second book where she talks about how to gamify a moment we are with. Well, a bad situation can be related with a bad health situation, maybe anxiety and stuff, but from a positive approach. I highly recommend reading these authors' books, because they are really, really interesting. And how can we find different examples related with more positive? It's true. I didn't come up with that. Thank you for that.
Cool.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say is that really Scout movement have been doing this all their life, for centuries. So in real fact, it doesn't have anything to do with technology or 21st century. Immersive experiences or gamifying different concepts is something you have been doing all this time, whether it is with the badges or different levels and so on, no? And it's been for more than
100 years. Oops, I think we lost Alejandro again. Yes, so as we know, yes, it is something that we have been doing for a lot of time, but the reason why we had this crowdcast, and we are more than welcome for more of these discussions, is because we believe that applying all of the concepts that we already have on gamification and creating new tools and new projects and new ways of challenging kids and adults and creating games all over that are both online and offline are ways that we can improve the way that we do education. I took up a bit while you were coming back.
Really sorry at the end when I was talking about how scouting has done gamification for centuries. So, well, in that way, I believe we shouldn't be so worried about if we are doing gamification or not, because it's there. There's a core concept in human beings that attracts this kind of elements. And you have been doing it for centuries. Well, we have been doing it for centuries. Well, centuries, no, sorry, for more than a century. Well, I'm not sure if any more questions, or we finished the online talk, but thank you very much.
So the crowdcast will be available. Thank you, Alejandro, for everything.
You're very welcome.
If anyone is looking just for to check up again with some concepts and to think of ways in which you can improve the educational experiences that you create, take a look at this crowdcast, and maybe you will have good ideas ready to serve you better.
And I will leave the presentation so it's possible to download and everybody could have it. So, and any questions, don't hesitate and send me an email. No problem.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next time.